only charge you a nominal
Oh
fee for
no!
every minute you make me wait.
Oh no! I watched a thing of Taskmaster yesterday.
Yeah,
Have you watched Taskmaster? I think we might have asked this
I have
already.
not yet. I know of it, but I have not seen it.
Um,
Now, what am I looking
if
at?
nothing, if nothing else. Oh, sorry, that's ceiling. Uh, if nothing else, you, Ben Lawrence, could go on YouTube and just watch a clip of it.
Yeah,
They have many little clips, and then you wouldn't have to invest all of your time. You just watch a clip and say, "Do I like this?
there's
Maybe
a
I
lot
do."
of I'll probably like it. I like things. There's I found a playlist on YouTube for every single Mock the Week episode. And
Oh wow!
I've seen all the episodes for the last, like, I don't know, probably 5 seasons the show was on the air. But I'm super tempted to just start it up again because it's easy, like TV to watch while you're eating dinner kind of stuff, or you have 25 minutes to spare and you don't want to think about anything, you don't want to invest any like emotional energy into anything. Mock the Week is a perfect like British panel quiz show for that purpose, I feel. The thing is, though, so I watched the very first episode, series one, episode one. John Oliver actually was one of the panelists,
Wow!
and they hadn't quite figured out the formula yet, so it still felt very rough. But it was interesting to see the seeds of what became a pretty fun little show.
So I'm trying to do these updates
Linux or Louis?
and on Linux, and it's not happening. I'm gonna see if I can just start. Oh, here, updates. Yeah, there's some weird thing happening. Updates, one of one item. Do not disturb. No, stop it. I don't know. Oh, here it is. It was waiting
Waiting for your okay,
for my
your okay
password.
go.
The
Ah,
password window was hidden, and so it wasn't
the
showing up.
password is garbage
The
can.
password window is closed. Oh, have we started on
Yeah, stream is rolling.
the YouTube? Hello,
Yep.
guys. Sorry to all the people. Um, so this,
Sure.
Ben, I'm just gonna before we start the podcast because this is visual. This is now my standard outfit. I one of these
Yeah.
and one of these, and that's I have 12 different versions of these.
And you have an average
But
of about 12 days between laundry days?
no, I have usually about 4 days between laundry days,
Oh.
4 or 5. But this way I'm not wearing the same. So I'm cycling through, and they last longer. Oh, I need to restart this. This is what I was worried about. I need to restart the system. I'm doing that right now. So it's good, is what I'm saying. It's working out pretty well. The only issue is that um, I say that I have 12, but really what I have is two sets of the same six.
Right.
So they're consistent, but they aren't exactly. I didn't want to go the cartoon character route where I'm wearing the exact same outfit every day because I think that people would
Why
catch
not? At
on.
this point, just lean into it.
Yeah,
I mean, I
I don't know.
basically wear the same thing every day. Today, I'm wearing my second outfit, a uh pullover, and I'm wearing my Tacoma shirt. I don't know if you saw this. It's the
Oh,
Tacoma.
I miss my Tacoma shirt, Ben.
What happened
Also,
to you?
I
Oh,
know
right.
something.
You
Yeah,
ripped it when we went to the City Museum that
ripped
one
it to the
time.
city museum. Yeah, if it's gonna go down, at least it
Yeah.
went down a hero. Okay, here we go. starting now. So 8 minutes late, Ben. 8 minute, 8 minutes late. It doesn't work. I was. Hey Ben, did you ever see House, the Japanese horror film?
Hosu, yeah. Once I think at Central Cinema, I think a group
Oh,
of us went.
yeah, you were with me on that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny. I'm part of this. You know, I talk about it every once in a while. This indie TTRPG group, and uh, there was every once in a while I get to see them discover a movie for the first time. They're like 20 years behind us.
Are they
Wow,
20 years
20
younger than
years.
we are?
Yeah, 20 years younger than us.
Okay.
And so they'll discover stuff that like you and I saw,
I
you
just
know, on
discovered
our
this
own.
great new Japanese director called Takashi Miike. You've maybe never heard of him.
Exactly. And so that's kind of cool. And so House though, and so what I was thinking of is that House is kind of like a precursor to like Too Many Cooks and things of that nature, like horror,
It's
but Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared,
I'll have to
etc.
rewatch it. It's been a minute. I don't really remember much of it.
Ben doesn't really remember much of it, ladies and gentlemen. That's
It's the
right. We've
name
started recording.
of my memoir. It's
We were
just a pamphlet.
talking before the
Life
podcast
happened.
started rolling. We
Yeah.
were talking about Hausu, the
Oh, goody.
or House Ben Lawrence.
There we go. That's my
The
sync point.
Oh yeah, sorry, and it's out of order. So
You're
this
out of
whole
order.
podcast is out of order. Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about the Japanese uh, show House,
Yeah.
uh, starring uh, Hugh
I'd
Laurie
have to.
as a house
Hugh Laurie is a
that is
haunted
infested
Japanese
with
house.
Japanese
Yeah.
girls. Um, so anyway, Ben, hello. We
Hey.
should we should say right off the bat, it is January 30th,
Yeah.
2025, and
There's a
believe me if
lot
you gotta, Ben,
going on.
shit be crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world right now.
Write that time code down, because I said the S word.
Maybe one of these days will allow us to just have an expletive-filled show
You know,
where we're like,
that would be
don't kids,
interesting.
kids don't listen to this episode because Paul and Ben swear it's like that scene in The Wire when McNulty and his partner are
Yeah,
examining the kitchen.
yeah. So I think that we've talked about this every once in a while. Do you remember Being Bad?
Yeah, I know Bean Dad. I've met Bean
Do
Dad in real life too.
you and I have both. I was a Twitter uh, mutual with him, and I think we've talked about this before. I have stated that I'm like one Jennifer away from being dead. Like there was a lot of stuff that she ran interference, like ideas that I had,
Yeah.
that she was like, no, let's not do that, Paul. Let's, things like that.
Like
But there's one.
in the way that you were going to like record it and post it online,
Oh no, no,
or
no.
just or just things you were going to do.
That too,
Okay.
but things that things that
Yeah.
I was going to do, like, only
Let's
speak to
do
her in a made up language, or
psychological experiments on a
exactly,
developing
yes.
child.
It didn't happen, which is good, but except for one, and I was thinking about this before. Um, I she asked what the C word was,
The
because it
C
was
word.
somebody said the C word,
Okay.
and as we all know, it was the bad word.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I told her that it was cowboy, and
Jesus.
I got to do that.
How old was she at the
She's
time?
she was I think that she was in kindergarten.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
want to
if
say
she's like
it was in Seattle.
younger than like 10, that's a very acceptable answer.
Okay, but I did it specifically to be
To mess with her and
silly. Yeah,
not to save
I wasn't
or
saving her for
or
anything.
just a
That's right.
sailor. That's a word that you will learn when you're older.
Yeah. She probably knows what it is now. I'm not going to ask her. She's
Well,
just in the
no.
other room.
Um,
Um,
before, I mean, I don't know if we're going to talk about all the horrors happening in the world,
we
but
probably
I
should. I mean, we could spend the entire time talking about it.
before
Let's
we do that,
go.
I'm
What
just
are
going
you
to
doing?
say that I started watching Silo this week.
Hey, Silo.
I'm season one, episode. I think I watched episode 5 last. I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
Yeah,
I'm drawing. Did you ever watch the TV adaptation of Fallout?
I did. Yeah,
I'm seeing a lot. I'm seeing a
it's
lot of parallels between these two
there's some.
shows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The one thing I'll say. This is what my thought about. Oh, glasses change. Those are my work glasses. These are my fun glasses.
Ah.
Um, Oh man, I see you so much better with my work glasses on. Okay, I'm gonna have to switch that. Um,
You don't need to see. This isn't really much to look at.
oh no, I need to read your face, Ben, so that I know what you're thinking. Um, oh no, I've messed up. Oh no, oh no. If you
For
made
those
that
listening at
face and you
home,
were
Ben pulled a
shaking a
face.
wrench at me, that would
Yeah.
be that'd be perfect. Here's what I would say. The interesting thing about Silo
Yeah.
is that it is a space show. I mean, a spaceship show, like any of the other like Star Trek, etc.
Yeah.
But it's
Totally.
not a spaceship; it's a silo. But
Yeah.
everything else about it is very similar.
So I've bought into everything, right? I can
Yeah,
believe the mythology, There's a mystery they set up in the first couple episodes, so I'm waiting to see how that pans out. And I've never read the books, right?
yeah. I never have either.
The only thing, and maybe this is explained in the books, maybe this is explained in the TV show, maybe it's just a given in the TV show. The only thing that I question when I watch the show is like how do they keep the people from being cooked that deep into the planet? And I'm not talking about like lava or anything like that, but like the pressure when you're that deep in the surface is really really great. And in fact, there's an instance where back in like not Victorian England, but like back in the when they were building like the Tower Bridge and the London Bridge and all that, they dunked these I forget the name of it, but they workers went down into the water where they sucked all the water out. They dug these trenches. They removed all the water, so the workers are down, and then everybody started getting sick. They started getting the bends because the
Uh-huh.
pressure down there is greater than it is at the surface. So they've probably pressurized the silo in some way. They just don't, talk about it. But when they go beneath the silo into the where the standing water is in the machine that dug the silo, I'm like, how is it not like boiling hot in there? And how are they surviving down there? Again, maybe this is like a in-show science question that is answered later on.
Hmm.
Maybe they don't want you to care.
What what you're seeing in my face is whether or not I should discuss something that you haven't seen yet with you or not.
Don't explain anything. That's just what's on my
Okay.
mind right now. I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
watching the show, and if we get to that
Here's what
point,
I
we'll
say.
get to that point.
They've thought of things. Um, have we already talked about? And I can't remember what the name of it is. There was another TV show. It was on network television about a generation ship that went up in the 1960s, and like it was launched in the 1960s, and the people are still on it, and you're following them and what they did.
Star Blaze. No, it's not Star Blaze.
No,
I don't
no.
know. It
The
was launched
idea
in
the
this. Was
idea
it a
is that
contemporary TV show? Like,
no, the TV show takes place. Well, it's contemporary. The TV show was contemporary with us, so it was in the 2000s,
okay,
right?
yeah,
Took place in the 2000s, but it's about a ship that was launched in the 1960s.
gotcha. I don't. I don't know
and
which one that is.
where they're at. Okay. I wish I could find it, but it's another thing that Silo really reminded me of.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I don't remember what it is. Can't remember the name of it, and you haven't seen it. So, do we need to talk about it? Probably not.
All right. So I just
Um,
wanted to get my silo thoughts out of the way. Hey, let's talk about the horrors that are happening in the world right now.
yeah. So here's the thing that I think is not good, but it's interesting.
Okay.
Um, we warned, and when I say we, I mean, the news people. I'm not part of the news people, but the news people and people that think about stuff warned that if Donald Trump won, he would do his best to like dismantle a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh, he won't do it," and then he's doing it. Basically,
Right.
is what's happening. What I likened this to when I was talking to somebody else is it's like the world is changing similarly to how it did with COVID, except with COVID, there was a reason that we were doing it, which was to keep people from dying,
Right.
was the idea. And this is more like they just want it to happen. Like, and this is the thing here's, there was you remember Drill from Twitter, right? The poster named Drill DRIL.
I don't think so.
He had a tweet, and I don't remember it word for word, but the gist of it was, um, my previous statements about uh, the 9/11 bombers were incorrect. You don't have to quote hand it to them unquote. Uh, or maybe it was Al Qaeda. I don't remember. But the basic idea is that hey, this thing that I said about these guys who killed a whole bunch of people, maybe I was wrong that you got to hand it to them. The
Right.
joke being, why would anyone? So keep in mind that this statement, you know, is sort of in that vein. I'm saying it, but likewise, I know that it's a very audacious and you know, possibly in bad taste statement. Uh, it is interesting to see someone doing so much of what they said they were going to do right when they take office. It's kind of amazing how much of this is happening all at
Well,
once.
and a lot of it's happening because people smarter than him have been planning for this for a long time. I
Right.
don't know.
The difference.
I don't know if you saw. I saw a clip of Trump at the Oval Office signing executive orders, and
Yeah, I saw
there was
that.
one. He was like, somebody put it in front of him, and he's like, "Oh, what's this one? This is to remove the U.S. from the WHO." Oh, very good, very good. I like that one. And then he signs it. He
Yeah.
has no idea. He doesn't care. He probably cares, I guess, but if it makes him money, but like he doesn't know what's going on. He's just along for the ride.
Yeah, there was a piece that there was a thing that he did that I did like. Uh and I liked it
And there, that's
um
enough.
from a no, I liked it from an aesthetic point of view. It was the thing where he was declassifying the reports on
Oh
MLK,
yeah, yeah,
JFK, and RFK, and he
yeah,
signed it, and he gave the pen and said, "Go ahead and give that to RFK Jr." Which I
yeah,
thought was nice. That was a nice little moment. Um, and then he said that the helicopter crashing into a airplane with 60 people on board, no survivors, some of them ice skaters from the U.S. and Russia,
yeah.
was partially a result of DEI initiatives, and
Right.
that's when you go, okay, so we're back to
Back. I
to
don't
this
think we
thing.
ever left.
Oh no, no.
Like,
Yeah, good, good.
no, we're back to that horror show, and he blamed he's blaming Biden, he's blaming Pete Buttigieg, the previous
Yeah,
Secretary of Transportation, and and people pointing out how many fatal fatal air mid-air collisions happened when Buttigieg was the transportation secretary.
there was
Compare that
a
to yours.
somebody said there was a guy, I can't think of his name, Tim somebody or other, brought up that they had to regulate the air traffic a little bit more, and then some guy, I think his name was Ted Cruz, said that
That's a dumb
we
name.
didn't have to, and then
Yeah.
voted that down or
I'm
stopped
learning
that from happening. I don't
I'm
know
learning
any of
a
this stuff then.
I'm learning a lot about like the logistics of Reagan National because like blame is just getting thrown about everywhere. Like there's a helicopter base just across the river from Reagan National, which is where this helicopter came from, right? And apparently
Hmm.
they do these like cross river cross flight traffic routines a lot. And I guess there was only like one air traffic controller working two towers. I don't know how that works. There's also like, the head of the FAA quit on January 20th, allegedly because Elon Musk forced him out, allegedly because he fined SpaceX for, reasons. And so now there's no head of the
Interesting.
FAA. So all the lefty talking heads on TV are
Oh,
talking about that.
yeah, let's talk about this because I thought it was interesting. So I anecdotally, right, I heard that there was some, well, not anecdotally, I witnessed, this is what I'll say, is I witnessed some confusion on a message board about what this deal for deferred resignations were, right? So for the for the uninitiated, you know, there was a memo that went out from, oh God, what's the name of the thing that's sending all these things out? The um, MPO,
OMP?
the OMP. What does OMP stand
OMB.
for? Office
The OMB.
Office of.
Something budget.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think I'm thinking of the OPM, the Office of Personnel Management. But anyway, here's the thing: the memo itself is saying that federal workers have until the 6th of February, which I think is Wednesday, um,
I don't know.
to decide whether or not they want to take this deal. And the deal is that, and and what I'm going to tell you right now, Ben, is the real deal. The thing that I saw were a lot of people confused as to what this deal was. So this is what it says in the memo. You say, I want to take this deferred I want to do this deferred resignation thing. You are removed from your position. Your duties are transferred to someone else or eliminated, one of the two. And then you get put on administrative leave and you stay on administrative leave for about 8 months with pay, but you're not doing any work. And according to the memo, you aren't expected to work during the time. You should check with your agency because you could probably have another job at the time, etc. So you're saying I resign, but you're still keeping your job until. And it sounds like this sort of mob worker thing where you're still collecting a paycheck, but you're not expected to show up anywhere. So that's what this deal is.
Yeah.
And the confusion about it was some people were saying um, they get 6 months or 8 months severance right away, which isn't true. right? You still collect a paycheck. You don't get paid a lump sum right off the bat. Somebody else said, well, no, you're still working, but you get to work from home. It did say, the memo did say that you are able to um, ignore the work from the office mandate when you have this, but you're going to be on administrative leave, so you wouldn't have to go into the office anyway. And then
Yeah.
finally, and this is the most important thing that Jennifer pointed out, no one in Congress has said that there's funding for this. So this is the crazy thing, right? They have until Wednesday to take a deal that no one can guarantee they're going to get paid for.
Well,
And
I
then the
mean,
other
that's
thing the
kind of
memo said, oh,
on
sorry, go
brand
ahead.
for
Yeah.
Trump. That's kind of on brand
Yeah.
for Trump, right? Promises
Well,
to
and then
pay you
the
but
other
doesn't.
thing they said is that the the people that stay are going to have to face stronger, more stringent guidelines. They're going to be expected to do more. Basically, it's going to be harsher to work there. Now,
Yeah.
that was the deal. A couple of things came out after that deal was made. One is somebody pointed out that this sounded really familiar, and then they remembered why it sounded really familiar. Do you remember, Ben? And this is Ben going to guess the news, kind of. There was a situation where someone came in to a business, and of course, the government is not a business, but some people like to run it like one. Came into a business and said, "I'm I'm daring you to take severance instead of staying to work here because I only want the people who really want to be here to be here." Do you remember who maybe said that to a workforce when they?
Yeah, the name is coming to me, but I think I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
Was it was it was it SpaceX or Tesla? I can't remember which company it was.
Oh, I was thinking of Twitter, Ben, but
Oh, Twitter.
you know,
One of those
yeah.
companies.
But here's the thing. I think that you might be right. It could have been the other two as well. I just don't know about those.
Right.
But yeah, surprisingly enough, this offer that went out to employees apparently happened without a lot of oversight from all of the people that are working for Donald Trump.
You
But
don't say.
apparently, someone for sure did it, and there's news articles about it. So that's fun. That's a fun thing that's happening. Um, let's see. Oh, did you know that the Department of Defense has an intelligence wing or an intelligence branch
I would hope
that
so.
works there? Um, yeah. Do you know what they're not doing anymore? This
Intelligence work?
this branch. Oh well, that's a good joke in general. Military intelligence. George Carlin. Oh yeah, I wanted to say I forgot about this.
They
I
got that
watched
too.
Saturday. I watched Saturday Night,
Yeah,
the
I saw it.
docudrama, and
Yeah.
then I watched the first episode of Saturday Night Live because I have Peacock right
Yeah.
afterwards, and I recommend doing it because it's
Nice.
kind of fun seeing the two things together. So yeah, um, they're not now Juneteenth and MLK Day are still holidays, but they are no longer going to be celebrating a lot of things. Black History Month is not sure. They aren't sure. Because when the person who was talking about this was asked, they said something like, "Well, of course we want to celebrate the accomplishments of all Americans," something to that
Yeah,
effect.
sure.
But the things that they weren't going to do, one was Pacific Islanders Month. I know, uh, Women's Equality Day, a whole bunch of and you can look it up and see all the things that were done. But they said, with lack of any clear guidelines, we are no longer going to be celebrating any of these. So that you still get the holiday off, you just can't talk about why you get it off. Um, Speaking about
Don't
talking
ask,
about
don't tell.
no, so so the other thing that happened that was similar to this is that the Department of the Air Force stopped talking about or stopped doing a segment on the Tuskegee Airmen for new people coming in whenever they talk about the history of the Air Force.
Right.
And after an uproar, that got put back in.
Yeah.
So
There are other examples
it's
of that too, of them trying to do something and then backtracking because of public backlash. One of
yeah,
which is like ceasing trillions of dollars in federal funding for various things. Like one of which was suicide prevention for veterans
yeah,
programs. And under the guise of they're trying to get rid of like DEI waste,
yes.
and but it covered everything, every federal program. So that got put back.
So the DEI thing is interesting. The memo for that is that you have until X date to get rid of all these programs. And they said they set up what people are terming a snitch line that says if you still have these programs running but you've named them something else, employees are encouraged to call and let people know, and they will turn these off.
A lot of companies are getting rid of their DEI initiatives, except for Costco. Costco is not, and I think even there was pushback from the federal government against Costco, and Costco's like, no,
Yeah,
we're not going to be bullied. So yeah, go local company.
yeah. There is a Costco in Chicago, I believe. Looking into it now, of course, we've talked about this before, but um, the the ward that I'm in Chicago, there are representatives of that ward, specifically the aldermen of the ward, that are um, pro ICE involvement, at least for right now, because did I talk about this at the last podcast? I
You
might
may
have.
have.
They see there being a conflict of interest between the money that goes to disenfranchised people from Chicago and migrants who are in Chicago. Like they see those as two separate groups, and they don't want the money going to migrants. They want the money going to the disenfranchised people. And so there's a huge not cognitive dissonance. There's a huge. I think this is how I put it. It's like liberal chicken in my head, where I'm like, okay, I believe that disenfranchised people need things. I believe that migrants need things. I don't see these as two separate deals. Part of the reason I don't see them as two separate deals is, of course, I'm not participating in these programs in
Yeah.
any way, so I can't see the differences. But what the city of Chicago has done is they've put their social services all under one umbrella. So technically, any program that you want to be um, supporting will be helping everything. Any of the people who need help would be getting help from these programs, and I think that's
Right.
the idea uh, that people are saying. Well, it's this big lump sum of money, and I want me to get it, not the people that also need it. That sort of thing.
The American dream, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's one of these things where I don't watch them, but I do see every once in a while this guy from the city of Chicago tells President Trump he's doing a good job and that he needs to continue. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this person um, is you know like I think from my war, but I don't know. Do I want to watch
That's
it to find out,
the game
etc.?
that you're gonna have to play for the next 4 years. Is to, if
Yeah,
to get what you want from him or the administration, you got to compliment and kiss ass. That's how that's
yeah.
because that's what he responds to.
I mean, there's some stuff like I'll tell you. Jennifer and I went out, um, and we bought a whole bunch of stuff, and maybe this is part of it too. But like, we just bought, um, like lentils and rice and things
Yeah,
of that nature
food staples.
because we're not sure, but we think that most likely the administration may be a little bit punitive towards the place where we live.
Yeah,
Um, so far, I have not watched any of the segments of ICE doing stuff in Chicago, co-starring Dr. Phil, because it seems too silly, and I don't want to.
that's that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but yeah, he's embedded with the people apparently, which is, as you can imagine, a little crazy.
I mean, it makes sense though.
So
Like we have a TV show morning host who's now the Secretary of Defense. We have a game show, reality show host who's the president.
yeah,
It just makes sense that we have a talk show host, a daytime talk show host, embedded with ICE and rooting out illegals. I'm putting air quotes
yeah.
over that. Illegals in our country.
And this is something, and I think I did talk about this in the last podcast, but I'll do it one more time. Um, Folks are equating the illegal immigrant group with the migrant group, and they're two different things. That's the other
Yeah.
thing that is important. Um, I mean, I say it's important, but it is one of those things where is it important? It's important to me that these two things are separate, but it's not important to the people who are mad. They don't care. It's just,
Yeah.
one big group.
Uh,
Except, and then I'll say this as well. You do run into people who do know the difference, who are still mad, but they're mad in a very like surgical way, where you're like, okay, all right, well then, good.
it's pretty
Um,
ridiculous. I mean,
yeah,
they've I heard today that they're going to open up Guantanamo Bay as well, essentially as a concentration camp, but
yeah.
that's not what they're calling it. For as Hegseth says, thousands to tens of thousands of illegals, and
The
like the administration says we want to deport 20 million criminals from illegal immigrants and criminals from the US. I'm like 20 million, you think 20
so
million immigrants are committing crimes? Even if one committed one crime, there's 20 million crimes.
the Guantanamo Bay number that I heard was 30,000 at
Yeah,
Guantanamo Bay. Here's the thing, again, interestingly enough, if you look at the news articles, they use the term migrants
yeah,
for that, which is interesting.
witches.
Which is interesting. The
uh
so the
yeah,
other interesting thing that I saw was, do you know the difference between, this isn't a joke, by the way. I'm asking it in a joke format, but do you know the difference between what the ice raids right now are like and what they were like previously?
I do not know the difference.
The
Are
difference that
they
I have
okay?
heard is that now ICE is able to arrest people if they find people here illegally while executing a warrant for someone who has committed a crime. They can also pick the other people up as well. So the idea is I only have a warrant for this one guy, but I go into this place and there are 20 other people. I could theoretically pick the 20 other people up as well, which you weren't originally supposed to be able to do. So
You weren't supposed to be able to do that earlier, but did people do it? I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, I got to tell you something. I don't know the name of the place, and it doesn't matter for the story. But in I think it was 2015, there was a big story. You might even have heard of it. There's a big story out of Chicago about this place where people were calling it like a black site in Chicago, where if you got arrested and you got sent to this place, uh, like you wouldn't be able to contact a lawyer. You wouldn't be in the system for a while. People wouldn't be able to find you, stuff like that. And they said that it was like an extreme rendition site. There's a news article that ran on it on the Guardian, I want to say. Um, but anyway, big deal. Had a name. Don't remember what the name is. So I think it starts with an H. But anyway, here's the story, right? Big
Yeah.
article ran. People started asking about it, and all the lawyers in the city of Chicago that they asked about were like, we're not saying that this place isn't a problem. What we're saying is every single police station in the city of Chicago is like this. This is not special. This isn't an extreme rendition site. This is just how CPD operates.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of funny. Funny in the new term,
Right.
how
Not
things
ha
go these
ha
days.
funny.
Yeah, gallows humor funny. Hey, speaking of gallows humor funny, I know we have a friend, longtime listener, sometimes participant, Stephen McCandless. I'm just wondering how Mr. McCandless is doing. Maybe he wouldn't want us to even talk about him on the podcast, but I was thinking about him today.
For any particular reason?
Just because I like him, and he sometimes calls in and does stuff, but I haven't heard from him.
Yeah. I saw him just the other day. He came by the theater to set up the new point of sale device for the bar.
Awesome, good to hear. And Stephen, if you're listening, thinking of you, I like you. That's all. The fact that you
Uh,
saw him is good for me.
he still exists. Um, what other horrors are going on in the world today?
Ah, geez. So, I mean, Robert F.
Oh,
Kennedy
Robert
is
F. Yeah,
currently being,
RFK, Housing and Human Services or Health and Human
yeah.
Services, Health and
I
Human
thought he was going to
Services.
be the FDA. I don't know who the
It's
FDA is now, but yeah.
HHS.
Okay. No, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know he's HHS now. The FDA is what I thought they were putting him
I
in
don't
charge of at first.
somebody I was listening to I think it was the Daily podcast this morning walking to work, and somebody the guest they had on there, they were talking, today's episode was all about RFK Jr. and the guest who was presenting the story said if he gets confirmed, and that's a big if. So this person doesn't seem to think that he's got the support to actually be
Yeah.
confirmed for that position, which would
I
be
mean,
like that would be kind of refreshing. I mean, I would take that as a win.
like, okay, here's something that I think is funny about RFK Jr. Um, you know, the idea that someone would drive from Death Valley to the Florida Keys with a dead alligator in their trunk is not very surprising. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But the fact that you don't know whether or not what I just said is a real anecdote about him or something that
I
I made
have
up,
I haven't heard that one, but again, wouldn't be
that's the
surprised.
interesting part. Yeah, I did just make it up, but again, hard to say for sure. I would think that. Well, no, I'm not going to get into it. I was gonna talk about what I think would maybe happen to the alligator, but Doesn't matter. Um, so so he got grilled, as they say, by Senator Warren
Yeah.
about the fact that this was the interesting thing. First, he was asked, "Will you not work for any health organization, including as a lobbyist, for
Right.
4 years after you've done this?" And he said yes. And then he was asked, "Here's another thing that you currently are doing. You have this law firm that you sue vaccine makers, and then you pocket the money that's won from these vaccine makers. Will you not do that for 4 years after you leave?" And he wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And the person who was presiding over things said, "Well, he has been through the ethics committee and he has said this." And Sarah Warren's like, "Do we have anyone else who went through this, who who does this specific thing and is in charge and would be in charge of uh, this particular department?" And he said, "Well, I don't know everyone's financial things, but that's why we have an ethics committee." He went through it, etc. Every single one of these, if I remember correctly, the only person so far that was out before he was in was Gates. Um,
Right.
did not work. It is kind of incredible. This happened last time too, where our the folks that are Democrats were like, "This is awful. This is going to be the worst thing ever. I have to vote this guy in. He's going to be bad, but we have to." So now he's in. That sort of. I mean, this is what it felt like the last time, if I remember correctly. Like everyone says it's bad, but there's nothing we can do. Can't turn the ocean liner around. So I guess this is just going to happen. That's sort of what's happening now. Um, the only thing I can say is that I did everything I was supposed to. So
During your Senate confirmation hearing?
during my Senate confirmation hearing, yes. No, I mean I went and voted. I voted
Yeah.
for the not him
Yeah.
uh,
And
party and all that.
the not hims all down the ticket. But
And
I
yet,
live in a
yeah,
very blue city in a very blue state.
yeah, nothing we did really moved the needle for us.
No.
Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say is you have what's his head? Oh no, now I lost it. So we voted him. Oh, I don't have it, Ben. There was another thing that just popped in my head, and now I don't remember what it was.
A
Did it
person's
have something to do
name?
with Chicago? Did it have to do with? I don't remember. I totally lost it. This is what happened to my brain. Totally lost it. Oh, speaking of totally lost it, I gotta tell you this. You probably already know this, but this is a PSA to everybody. You should not yell at a dog while he's in mid pee. Uh, it or after he pees. You
Did you
don't
frighten
yell at
Edward?
the dog. I did frighten Edward, but that wasn't the main. The main point was that I was he. So we have that love sack. You remember the love sack? It's
Yeah.
the one that we have currently is a gray fuzzy pillow that's in the basement. And he climbed up to the top of it and peed on it. And while he was peeing, I was like, "No, no!" And then I was like, "Ah!" And here's what I had been told: that you have to show the dog that you're displeased so that he knows not to do it.
Yeah.
This is apparently incorrect. What you do is you do a firm no, and you say that's not what we do, and you move him to another place and all that. But you don't punish the dog. You don't yell bad dog. You don't act mean to him and all that, which is what I thought you were supposed to do. This is what I was told. Well, you have to be firm with them, and you may not like it, but you have to, you know, you have to. they can sense emotion, so they have to know that you're mad at them. That's not the case. You do tell them no. You do, firmly tell them, that's not where we go potty. We go potty over here. You show them where they're supposed to go. But you don't say bad dog. You don't say I can't believe you. You don't say you're embarrassing me in front of my friends.
Especially not
You
if your
don't.
dog understands English.
Yeah. So, um, oh yeah, this is something that I did, and this is a true story. This is something remember how I was saying. I don't know if Matt Young likes me or not. I can't tell, um, but he doesn't really return my calls and all that. There's something I did that I still think was funny. Um, I said, "Oh look, Matt, did you know my friend Andy's dog can do tricks? Roll over, roll over." Andy's dog didn't do tricks, right? I said,
Yeah.
roll over, and then when Matt left, I covered the dog's ears so that he couldn't hear me, right? And I yelled, "I can't believe you embarrassed me in front of my friend," which is, as you know, Ben, a very me thing to do. It's a
Right.
very um I found out there's another me thing, and I didn't know that it was a me thing, but it is the perfect thing. Uh and it's my Yogi Berra moment. It was just me and Jennifer there, but I'm going to tell it to you as well. And I think that you will be able to say, yes, this is a very Paul Goody thing to say. Um, so Jennifer's trying to remember something. She's really very upset and can't do it. And I say to her, "What are you trying to remember?" And the more you think about that phrase, the deeper it goes. And I love it. But she was like, "I want you to think about what you just said to me." I was like,
Yeah.
right, yeah. So that was kind of neat. But yeah, so we bought a shovel and we bought a
And
spade.
then when the sun
But
goes down,
some
we're gonna put it to use.
we've got some planting potting soil. We have some, seeds as well. Um, there's a lot of things, going here, but we have this house, and if society collapses, we're going to get some pygmy goats. That's the other thing. You got to get two of them. But
Oh,
I
so
don't
they
know
have
what
a
would happen
friend.
in the winter. Yeah, exactly. But I gotta say, people talk about Chicago winters being bad. As long as your furnace holds out,
Right.
it's not that bad.
And you can be inside.
Yeah, exactly.
How's your
Uh,
how's your house after what was it, 3, 4 months of home
I like it.
ownership?
Yeah, it's good. There's not a lot of, and this is, I mean, we knew this when we moved here. And part of the reason why the house was cheap, the walkability score is not high.
Right.
There's not a lot of stuff around. I think personally, I think that has a potential to change. I think that that's going to shift over time.
You think
Um,
new in not industry but new services are coming into your neighborhood?
I think they will. Maybe not right away, but I think so. I think that there's a chance that there will be more stuff eventually. Um, but even if it doesn't, you got the red line right there.
Yeah.
That takes me
I
to
mean, it's
anywhere.
it's it's not a very it wouldn't be a very pleasant walk like in the snow if it were
Right.
like freezing, right? But it's still right there.
And again, though, when it's really cold, the trains are usually full of people staying warm, so it's not
Yeah.
really a place where you go anyway during those times. But I do like the winter here. People said that it's bad. It kills all the ants, so there you go.
Bonus.
Yeah, but no, I like it. I mean, the house is good. I still need to clean all this stuff up. I've got I don't know. I mean, I might have too much stuff for everything that's in here, but I think I just need to organize it a little bit better, and then it'll be okay. The problem is that with the hoarding and everything like that, I have inertia.
Yeah.
Inertia doesn't just mean that you keep going; it also means that if you stand still, then you can't. So, like, I have,
Yeah.
this mess of guitars here, um, like the bass ukulele, Ben.
Yeah.
Can't hear it. Edward hates it. Edward hates all music. Freaks him out. Um, I used to have a video. I may still have it. It might be on YouTube actually. But all of my YouTube things with Betty and them are hidden. Probably unhide them now. I don't know. I'd have to talk to her and Jennifer about it. But
Yeah.
she's running around saying no singing to me because I was singing,
I
and
think I
that
have a
hasn't
rehearsal.
stopped.
I think I have a clip of you and me rehearsing something and Betty in the background yelling for us to be quiet.
I believe it. It's probably right. Um. Oh yeah. So let's see. Transgender stuff. Obviously, part of the DEI thing. Like you can't do it. No, no good. Oh, That's what I was. I was trying to articulate. Ben, this is a problem with my mind again. Um, so the Trump administration is doing kind of an end run around inclusion by totally disregarding the term gender, and they're using the term sex instead,
Right.
so that they can, but they also are pro-life, and so they have to have
Except
life
when they
initiate
cease
conception.
funding for veterans suicide prevention.
Sure, sure, sure. Um, Pro-life always has quotes around it in this
Yeah,
situation.
like
So,
JD
so
Vance
the
was creepy recently. He at a press conference, he's like, "I want to see more babies in America. I want to see more
yeah,
babies born in America."
yep. And part of the way that they do that, Ben, is to force underage girls to
Bear
have
the child
children.
of their rapist. Yeah, I've heard
So,
that. I've heard that story.
but in this situation, it was pointed out that the the children, or not the children, but the people who would be affected by this law would have to use the sex that they had at conception.
Yeah.
And so some people said that that meant that everyone's a
Yeah.
woman, which isn't true.
We're all women.
But but what someone pointed out is that it is true that it would mean that we have either no gender or both genders, or like it puts us in a very ambiguous
Right.
place, and it's that kind of fun that reminds me of the old Discordian adage: uh, imposition of order equals escalation of chaos. So yeah, things are just going to be weird, and they're going to get weird at some point in time. But in good news, um, uh, well, hmm. Anyway, no. Oh, I've got one. Jason
Yeah,
Mantzoukas from. Are you familiar with Jason Mantzoukas?
I
Then
am not. No.
he is a comedian, famous for the podcast "How Did This Get Made?"
Okay.
and he's
So I must
on
have seen
some of
him
the
because I saw a
on.
live taping of that once at Bumbershoot.
Okay, he was the guy with the beard,
The only one I remember is Paul
and
Shear because he's the only one I knew.
yeah, he's the other guy who isn't Paul Shear.
Okay.
Did you ever see The League? It's
No.
a comedy show. Okay, what about John Wick?
I saw the first one, yeah.
Did you see any of the other ones? Because he's not in the first one. He's in one of the later ones. All right, it doesn't matter. Anyway, Jason Mantzoukas from the United States is going to be on Taskmaster Series 19 as the first um, contestant from the United States to be on the
Yeah.
British show, which is very exciting. And I think
Cool. Americans
he,
are taking British jobs for once.
yeah, British acting gigs.
Yeah.
Hey, let's see, what else? Is there anything? Nosferatu is now available to rent or buy, but it's $25. So I'm gonna wait. Oh, I will say this: the Criterion Collection is wonderful.
The
Um,
Criterion Channel?
the Criterion Channel, yes. Also, the Criterion Collection is wonderful, but the
Right.
Criterion Channel, which plays many things on the Criterion Collection, is great. Um, I think if I had to get rid of every channel but one, it it would be hard, but it might be that one.
If I had to get rid of every streaming service I subscribe to but one, I'd still get rid of all of them and then just have my friend who torrents TVs, shows and movies and puts them up on a Plex server. I'll just get what I need from him.
Ah, interesting.
I'm not gonna say who it is, but I have the
I've never
hookup.
heard I've never heard of any of those things.
Yeah.
And if I did, I didn't. So there we are. Um, let's see. I mean the main thing is that so far, I mean, you and I are both still doing relatively well. I am a little bit nervous. I don't talk about work, but I do work remotely. And that
Yeah.
was one of the other memos that came out is, of course, for federal employees that they have to come back in
Right.
to work. And, the idea for all of this stuff, the end of DEI initiatives and all that stuff, they're trying to get the rest of the United States workforce to match that standard. They're like setting the standard and trying to do it. It's really interesting if you look at the memo at the notes and stuff like that, because people are sharing the memos around and all that. Um, they often say, it's time for federal workers to go back to work like all of us already have. Or now the pandemic's been over for, several years.
Right.
Things like
Yeah.
that. Just like things that aren't necessarily correct, but once the oral history goes away, that's what's going to be left. It's really interesting to think about that we're seeing the lies of history coming into play in
It
real
would
time.
be, yeah, it would be interesting to see how this is talked about or written about, even like 50 years down the road. And then you look at that,
Yeah.
and then you look at 50, of course, history from 50 years ago is like 1975, but so maybe not that long ago. But you look at through the lens of modern spin and
Yep.
and that and like how what has been glossed over that we've learned in the past that is not actually true or is not actually the way it was.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why we are here, Ben, telling it like it is for future generations. And listen to other episodes of the podcast, and you will see that is in fact what one of the things we're talking about. Oh, also Ghost Dog. I saw Ghost Dog again. Did you see Ghost Dog?
I never saw Ghost Dog.
Oh, you should see Ghost Dog, Ben. It's a good movie. Forrest Whitaker plays a modern
Ah,
day samurai.
ah, yeah. No, did I have I watched the movies? I think the last movies I watched were on the plane coming back from Puerto Rico. I saw Saturday Night. I
Oh
saw
yeah.
The Ring because I had just watched Ringu, and I can't
Oh
remember
yeah.
why. I have the Ringu DVD, and I watched it when I bought it years ago, and for some reason that movie was like I think it was like mentioned in a podcast or something, like the
Yeah.
movie The Ring, and so I'm like, oh, I have the original. Um, and I
The one thing
watched
I
I
will say really quick, spoilers for
yeah,
Ring and the Ring of Ringu. No psychic stuff in the Ring. They just cut that
right.
part out.
They did. Um and instead they supplemented it. I think they supplemented it with just like video tapes of things, video records. And I misjudged how long was left in my flight. I started watching Hellboy the Crooked Man, but I didn't
Oh,
get
how
all the way
was it?
through it. It was good. It was actually, I want to also at this point I was super tired in the flight and I almost fell
Yeah.
asleep through it. But it's like, my but the plane, this there was no screen in the back of the seat in front of me. I had to watch on my tiny phone. And granted, my
Yep.
phone's not tiny. My phone's, it's a standard average size phone. Hey, look, there we are.
Hey,
um,
hello.
hey, there's us.
Hello. That's what I look
Um,
like.
and so yeah, so I'll go back and rewatch it. Cole Hornaday says that it's more true to the comic books than the David Harbour Hellboy, which I had never seen.
Yeah, see, this is the thing is that like everybody disliked the David Harbour one because he wasn't uh, Hellboy.
Yeah.
Because Hellboy, as we all know, was
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman, and that's what everybody said. So you needed the David Harbour one to sort of cleanse the palate, and people
Yeah.
wanted to hate this one too because it still wasn't Ron Perlman. But I've heard that people sort of liked it. The guy who directed Crank directed this one,
Yeah, I didn't know the director,
and
but like I've never and
he also did Happy, which was good.
I haven't read any of the BPRD comics, but Cole, and I trust Cole's opinion on these things. He says it sticks more true to the aesthetic of the comics.
Well, that's really cool. Well, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
take a look,
Take a look.
and
How
I'll
did I say?
tell.
Oh, it was like
I'll.
it was just on like the free movies that American Airlines lets you watch when you log into their
Oh,
Wi-Fi. So it was a limited selection. So I
so
don't
I'll
know
see if
where
it
one
maybe
can
it's
see it
available, maybe it
terrestrially.
isn't.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna try just to take trains everywhere. We'll see how long that lasts. But
I'm a big fan of trains.
yep. Uh,
They don't go to Puerto
and
Rico
with that,
though.
yeah, exactly. I'll tell you a joke after the show during
Okay.
our after
Our
show, which is
bonus
would be
Patreon
it would be
content.
available on our Patreon if we had a Patreon. We don't, and if we do, something terribly wrong has happened. Um, that's about it, Ben.
All right.
I will see you next time. How's it?